Hey, I'm Ted. Welcome to another Skoolie video. Today we're going to tackle the dashboard. I want to keep on with our theme of natural wood, and I have this old oak stair stringer salvaged from a barn that's just about the perfect size already, I think. And so I think I'm going to work towards something like that. I know ultimately we're going to mount a backup camera here, and I need a sort of an apron to come down over the front. And of course the tricky part is this isn't straight across. Like, we've got sort of an angle with the windshield that we're going to have to match up. So I think some scribing is going to be in our future as we try to figure out the way to get that to look as good as we can. And again, it's going to be kind of finish work, so it kind of has to look the best I can do. So I don't know about you guys, but what I find the most challenging part about scribing is that stuff just moves all over the place, especially, trying to do cardboard. It flops all over the place, and trying to get a consistent line, it just becomes kind of struggle, especially when you're by yourself. So I clamped this little just piece of, I don't know, maple I had kicking around up against the frame of the metal dashboard, just sort of hold, so I have a constant reference point, a straight line all the way across. And I put this piece of 1/4-inch plywood, just sort of laid it over the top. And so now I'm going to scribe it, so it should stay in place pretty well. And I've got my square and my scribing stick, and I'm going to kind of scribe a line coming all the way across. And then I guess I'll just cut it out, and then use it as a pattern. I still got to get the ends, and somehow I'm going to lay this all out on the... somehow I'm going to put it all together and then use it as a pattern to cut that oak stringer I have. Cut it out and see how it fits. Another strategy, sometimes this stick's kind of having a hard time sliding on that rubber, so I'm just going to put a dot and move it a little bit, another dot, dot, dot. I'll just connect all the dots. Seems to fit, so if I trace that on the piece that will be the dashboard, it should fit in there. Part of me is tempted to put it on that whole kit and caboodle on another piece of 1/2-inch plywood to see if it fits before we put it on the oak. Jury's still out whether I'll do that or not. To cut another template out of 1/2-inch plywood just so it's more rigid and I can kind of see I can see the issues I have to deal with. So on the ends, these come out a little bit wider, and I thought that the piece I had was wide enough to cover that, the wing sort of things on the side, but it's not. So I think I want to build the ends out just a little bit because I got to cut the rest of it inside. So I got to trace underneath here where the dashboard goes, so I can do this cutout, and then I'm going to have to just scab a little piece on each of the ends, and which I can drop the apron down to go underneath here. So we'll trace this. Cut that out. All right, template's getting close. And another good argument, I'm really glad that I made a template because again, my spatial brain had a mental lapse here. So I traced the edge of this flush, forgetting that I want to add an apron down below here. So this actually needs to extend out 3/4 of an inch. So when I go to trace this onto the final piece, I need to add 3/4 of an inch to overlap the apron that's going to come up. So I can make that adjustment, and then I can scab on the pieces on the wings here as well, and then drop the apron underneath. So, but it looks like that's going to fit pretty well. I imagine even when I cut, a piece of 2-inch oak, I'm going to still have to make some adjustments in there. But I think that's going to, God, I hope it's going to work. Then I have to figure out, so the next step, I haven't even mentioned it yet, but I have to figure out a system for running a defrost through that, which I think I got an idea in my head. We'll see how that goes. But all right, I think it's time for lunch. Then we'll come back and trace this on the final piece. Well, we've taken our template, put it on here. I made my adjustments, and here comes to the second scariest part of the project. It's cutting it out, and the scariest is actually putting it back in to see if it fits. So let's cut it out. Alright, we're going to see if it fits. I have a feeling it's going to be a little tight. Yeah, just have to get it past that. Alright, a little bit of trimming just at the end. It seems to fit in there pretty good. So now I can build the bump outs and the skirting. Okay, so this slopes down at an angle. So I'm going to measure that angle, and then see if we can cut this piece, and hopefully it'll match up. So I traced that angle onto this piece of wood, and I'm using my table saw angle cutting jig, and I lined up the front and then do it this way, line up the back with that line. Clamp her down good, and we'll cut. I think that'll be alright. I gotta trim that about there, and then I think, yeah. Little notch, a little screw right there, for crying out loud. I think I'll drill some pocket holes in the back of that, even though it's kind of at an angle, and then attach this. My little apron piece will go underneath like that. And that will be good. Okay, so now we can kind of start trying to figure out the apron pieces underneath. And it's not straight, so you're going to match that angle. Like that. So it looks like it's about 5 degrees. So if I cut 2.5 on either side, mathematically I think it should fit. That seems to work all right. Then we get this piece maybe? Or this piece? So we sanded down the, well, I suppose we didn't, I suppose I did. Well, you were with me when we did it. We sanded down the dashboard, the oak, and now we want to attach these angle pieces. And again, I think I want to do it, well, I'm going to try to do it with a Craig jig. The tricky part is I really can't go through the angle. So I can't fit this angle piece in there, which means I have to drill it from this side, but I want to put in 3 or 4. I guess I'll put in 4 screws on either side. And then it's going to be tricky, I think, because it's an angle, so kind of keep it from sliding all over the place. Might be an adventure. I've got this set for, that was pretty good where I had it before. So I suspect this part's going to be tricky, trying to clamp this in place, because it's upside down, so I can't really see the seam or the gap. Plus it's a funky angle, so I don't know. I got a bunch of clamps here. I put some glue, and I suspect that I want to get this top edge lined up. But I have a feeling there's going to be some sanding involved in this side, and maybe even some gap filling. We'll see. So the glue dried on this. I'm really happy with the way those angles came out. So now I'm going to take a router bit and just soften this inside edge a little bit and put some urethane on it. So I think the next step is to build a little box we can set on top on the side of the dashboard that'll that the defrost hose will come up through, and then in that box I think we'll drill a small hole and run some 1-inch copper pipe out with holes drilled in it in order to push air out to the defroster. So so on the bus, this is kind of what was there before. I guess it went like this. And air came up through here and then went through that channel. So I think I'm going to cut this piece out, drop this inside the little box, and then out will be a hole that the pipe runs through there. So I guess I got to cut this piece out just so that I can use it to secure the hose. Okay, so got a box built got the little flange installed there, so mark the hole kind of where it's got to go. This is the scary part when I always start drilling holes and things you just built. But I suppose I should do a better job of marking the center of that. Occurs to me though that I thought I could notch something with I only have a 4-inch hole saw, and that's going to be awful tight. So maybe what works better is actually if I take this and I just drill it into the bottom of that and hook the hose and then just mount this on the top, and I think that will work. That will work better. So I need to drill some holes. So now I want to, where's my lid? So this lid will go on like that. Air will come up through and then come out of a hole here through the copper pipe. So I want to try to match the, because this kind of goes at a little bit of an angle. So I want to try to match that angle. Right in the middle. Looks like something about there. Well, I was looking for pipe hangers. I thought they would look kind of cool, like especially copper ones. I could basically hang this upside down, but didn't find any. So I just took a block of wood and cut a hole in it, rounded the edge a little bit. And now we're going to try to bend this pipe so it matches the curve of the dashboard. Oh! Can't reach it. Go in there like that. I've yet to figure out how I'm going to solder this little piece in here without setting it on fire. See how that goes. Using these trim screws from underneath to secure my pipe blockers here. Alright, so a little bit of wrestling, we got it in there. The hardest part was getting the 4-inch hose there onto the duct up underneath, wrestling around with that. So I didn't film that because there had been a lot of editing of the language. We got it in, so I'm going to use some 1.25" Kreg screws to this holes up underneath the metal dash I can screw in to secure this down, and I'm using the Kreg screws because they're the right length. That's it. That's it, because I don't have 2-inch screws to go through it. So these are 1.25", which I have on hand, so we'll use these. So now we're going to put these apron boards on, and I'm going to glue them and screw them onto these GRK trim screws, and I don't. In case you don't know about trim screws, they're just awesome because they've got this sort of basically a point that cuts wood, so they don't tend to split, and you can bury the heads in there pretty deep, so they don't have to, really don't show much at all. And like I said, they're pretty rugged, so I figured this is going to be the best way. So we're going to glue it and screw it. That's an impressive screw. All right, cool. I like it. I feel incredibly lucky. I'm thinking like I'm just looking at it, it's like, boy, it's a ton of oak. And honestly, I usually like maple better, but it's hard to complain because all the oak was free. I was just thinking out of that big pile. And so, yeah, cool. So the next step, I guess, is, so I got the piece to fit under over here. But I'm going to wait on that until I rebuild that heater cabinet. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do there yet. So I'm going to wait to finish that. And I suppose the next thing is I have to find out actually if this defroster actually works. So we'll have to figure out a way we'll have to get the bus steamed up. Julie! All right, baby, we made it steamy in here.
Not the first time. Braggart.
So
it's steamy because it's toasty warm in here.
Well, yeah.
It's on it.
I don't have the heater on.
Oh, I thought this was going to be a heater.
No, we're gonna test the defroster. So I was curious to find out whether, of course, the windshield isn't as steamy as everything else is, but I'm curious to find out whether the air will make it all the way along that pipe to the passenger side. So it's really steamy back in here, but I can't get it as steamy as I want it on the windshield. But we'll test it and see how it goes.
I see.
All right, we got some steam. Let's see what happens when we hit. That's the heater. Frost on. We definitely got air coming out of there. That's good.
See it at a box to see what size it is.
All right, so the windshield cleared. Not as much as I would like to. It's hard to get a ton of volume out of this pipe, I think. I'm not sure. But it's warm, and there's definitely air coming out of there. Ooh. So I think it will be...
I know what I'm putting my cold hands on.
Adequate, if not perfect. So that's another video on the Skoolie conversion project. I'm really happy with the way it looks. I would like a little bit more air, I guess, to pump out of that, but I don't know. Fortunately for us, driving a lot in warmer weather, and it's not as critical, I think, to keep things defrosted. I'm not going to be driving in a snowstorm. So, again, with the bus actually running, it may actually pump out a little bit more air to really keep things clear, but I don't think it's going to be a big issue. I hope not anyway, but really happy the way it looks. So, thanks for joining in. Appreciate it as always. Like, subscribe, do all those things that you do, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.